Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first attempt at a podcast. It's so first attempt, we don't even have a name for it yet. That's how first attempt this is.
Bullcraft After Dark.
I'm not sure about that one. Well, it's still up in the air, but I'm here with Isaac, aka Star Strikes, who has a channel that's linked in the description that has 2 videos at the moment.
Yes, I'm so productive.
Yeah, so, which is why this podcast is on my channel, because I'll actually get it edited and uploaded faithfully every week. So.
Yeah, I'm working on a video about Minecraft and a commercial. It's going to be funny if you want to know what that's like. I already have a video done with a commercial. Yeah. And it's been referenced a couple of times in other videos.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny commercial.
If you want to go watch it, I promise I'm at least kind of funny.
I think you're great. That's why I want to do a podcast with you, so that way we can get some laughter into other people's lives as we talk about story ideas and stuff. And you actually have a concept, so I'm going to let you read what your concept for this video is going to be.
Well, I'm probably just going to pull it out of memory.
I mean, you can scroll up on Discord.
I can, or I can just make up extra things as I go along if I really want to.
Okay, go for it.
What I was thinking was like maybe some world building ideas, random world building ideas. So I thought, what if you had like your main protagonist, but he or she was in an elevator, and this protagonist could use this elevator to travel through time. I promise it's not a TARDIS. And so the higher in the elevator you go, then the further in time you travel, and the lower in the elevator you go, the further back in time you travel. But you're only traveling through your life. So the very top of the tower, top of the elevator, is the end of your life. The bottom is the beginning of your life. And I'm assuming that the ground, like below floor 1, is probably when you were in the womb, but that's probably the most boring time in your life to travel to. So
well, I mean, I think the important thing to know is when you're in this elevator, do you stay the same age? Like, do you age down? Because that can be really dangerous. Like, if you go all the way top, it's insta death. If you go all the way down, you're like you're dead because you're not in your mother's womb, but you should be. Yeah, unless your mother just magically spawns into the elevator and then she's confused. In which case, does that mean that she's now, like, the elevator now works for her and then it's just an endless cycle?
Good question. I'm gonna say that only you can access this elevator. You can't pull anyone else in with you, like, by traveling through time. And if you were in the womb, then I guess at that point maybe you would have to be able to be in multiple places at once. Maybe it's like your whole life is like going throughout this skyscraper or whatever, and you could travel to see different points in your life, but some points you might not even be there because you'll be in an elevator. So when you go up the elevator to a certain floor, that floor might just lead to another elevator.
Well, in which case, wouldn't, like, all of it lead to an elevator? Because you just end up spending your entire life in the elevator.
Well, maybe not your entire life. Maybe it's like you say, man, that was a really fun day at laser tag. Let's go with that. And you said, I want to relive that day. And so you just go down the elevator and be back to laser tag, and then you run into yourself and you start shooting at yourself.
That sounds like a paradox just waiting to happen. Although, wouldn't it be fun just to do like a time travel thing where, like, screw paradoxes, you can meet as many as yourselves as you want. It's just a world of infinite yous.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. I mean, you could get just a whole party together, and it's like, if you want to have a laser tag battle, but you're short a few people, just duplicate yourself a few times.
Oh, I guess that's kind of what it would become. It wouldn't become time travel, it would be duplication.
Kind of, yeah, but the duplication is caused by time travel. So you duplicate yourself a few times, get yourself from a few different points in time, going back, and then suddenly you've got a party. And then you go and you play laser tag.
I like how you have like the ability to go back in time and stuff, and your idea of like the first thing you're gonna do is, oh, we're gonna go play laser tag with myself. That's the first thing I'm gonna do in a world where I can time travel and also interact with myself without the world crumbling into a million pieces.
Yes.
Play.
It's like what some people would do is say, it's like, I'm gonna go back in time so that I don't ruin that relationship with that one person I had. I'm like, now, I'm gonna duplicate myself a few times and play laser tag.
Laser tag. I don't even like laser tag, so I probably would not do that. Well, we never clarified. I'm assuming we're staying the same age as when we get in the elevator.
I mean, yes, I would think we are, but at that point, if we're traveling through the elevator, it's like if we say the same age, then we're not going to, like, what happens if we're an old person who keeps going into the elevator but then never reaches the top of the skyscraper, like never lives long enough to like just live the life and go to the top of that skyscraper? But if you just keep on rewinding, do you like age to be 100? Can you die, or do you have to go to the top of the skyscraper?
Well, I guess we have to identify time. So, like, you're the same age, but, like, time's still continuing. Like, you're always, despite... the thing with, like, time travel is you know you're going back in time, but you're never going back in your own time. Like, in your timeline, you're still going forward. You're just going backwards in the world's timeline. So, like, if you spend 5 hours in the elevator, despite the fact you might go back 5 years, you're actually 5 years older still.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a logical time traveling thing to have? Like Doctor Who. Doctor Who goes all over the time thing, but he's still aging. Or at least his counterparts
So does this cause the top of the skyscraper to move? Like, like, would this not be like your life then anymore? That the skyscraper is the skyscraper is the world, and you're just moving forward and backwards through time, which is the world, but it's also a skyscraper, when the original idea was the skyscraper is your life, and you're moving up and down through your life.
No, you're still in your life,
aging,
but...
Then what happens if you just stay in the skyscraper, like, in the lower levels, and you never reach the top?
You just die in the skyscraper of old age. And then you've reached the top.
You gotta wonder, what's at the top of that skyscraper then?
You sitting in an elevator, dying of old age. See, this is the problem with your thing that you're talking about. You're talking about, like, oh, you could spend the elevator. But at some point, there's a time in your life where you're just in the elevator. And if you never leave the elevator and go back to normal life, can you even? That's a question. We never established if you can get out of the elevator and stay out. Then you're stuck, then you die in the elevator. Or also, like, you're going up to some point, and that there's some point where it's just repeating. So, like, you've gone to that, you've gone to the laser tag game, because you wanted to. And,
yeah, so it's but now, 4 times.
Yeah, so now that laser team is in that earlier time zone, but it's also, if you were to go back, like, down, like, half a floor or whatever, and open it up, it'd also be there, so it'd be there twice. It'd be on your thing twice. And then if you don't question my logic. And then if you go into that again, you have another floor dedicated to it. And then you could have like 20 floors dedicated just to this one game, and it's just this one game on repeat.
But now I want to know, like, how you go down half a floor. So like, how far? Like, I was thinking, like, maybe there was like a set amount of time that you would go back per floor. Like, maybe it's a day or something.
Okay.
But what if you wanted to try and go back, like, an hour? Do you, like, maybe open the top? Wait, what does the elevator shaft look like?
I don't know.
Like, what if you were to, like, try and open up the top, like, the emergency escape hatch of the elevator, climb into the top of the elevator, and then activate the brakes?
I feel like that's just...
When it's halfway between, like, one day and the other, or 2 different floors, then... Well, can you, like, try and squeeze yourself in between the floors?
See, my thing, I had, like...
get half an hour or something?
I don't know. So my idea of, like, this building was that it was the size of your life. So every second is in this elevator thing, this building. It's a tall building. Okay, this is a tall building. Well, actually, you might only be, like, 4 if you go into the elevator, and then it's kind of short building. But still, we won't question how a 4-year-old got in. But yeah, so I've lost my train of thought now. But yeah, so you can open it at any time, any second, any minute, depending on how far down you go, I guess. So I guess you could almost think of the building not as going up and down, but going to the left and right type elevators, which do exist. They're weird, but they exist. But it's just...
What would happen in this elevator if you went to the left and right?
Oh.
Like, if upward is your future and downward is your past, what's to the left and the right?
I mean, that's why it's an elevator, so you don't go left and right.
But theoretically, if you were in an elevator that could go up and down and left and right, and this elevator was your life, what would happen if you were to go left and right in time? Like, you go forward and back in time.
If you think about it, when you're exiting the elevator, you're going to the left or right. So it's just you entering into the time zone, and then you can
What
move
about forward and back?
Also, wait, another thing I feel like we have to talk about is how close do you have to be to yourself to be able to be in this new world? Like, or can you just go into a time and then decide, you know what, I'm gonna hop on a plane and head to China and go explore what was happening there. I wonder what was going on or like you had a question like, oh, you got stood up on a date, and so you decide, you know what, I'm gonna go back to that day and I'm gonna go check out to see what this jerk of a guy was doing, and then you find out he was not doing something you wanted him to be doing for sure, and you're like, yeah, he was a jerk, he stood me up for that. But like, so how far can you go?
Like, oh, you went to laser tag rather than going on a date with me?
We were
How dare you?
Yeah, I would have gone laser tagging with you. I'm obsessed with it. I have about 20 years of my elevator life dedicated to it.
But it's like, who could be so important that you would go out laser tagging with them rather than me? Oh, it's yourself. Okay, I see. I see how it is.
Yeah, it's just... So that's another thing you have to think about, is how far away you can be with a person. Because we've already established, we've decided that we don't care about paradoxes, and you can touch yourself and interact and whatever.
But now you've got to ask the question, are you the only person with this ability?
Ooh.
Or does everyone
have an elevator?
The different floors, does everyone have an elevator?
Does everyone have...
Like, imagine what kind of chaos that would be.
Honestly,
like, if everybody had an elevator.
I feel like, so the way that, like, if we establish the way the time works and the way that I was thinking it does, then I feel like at one point everyone would become trapped in the elevator. Because imagine if you had a kid in the elevator. Like, you left the world and then you came back and then you had a kid, and the kid's life's the elevator. And then the kid enters his own elevator, but it's only like an elevator. And it's just an elevator. Or would that lead to, like, he now has access because he's born in the elevator of the mother? Do they now have access to their mother's elevator? And would that give them, like, a whole more scope? And then they can access their mother's life. Which is interesting, because then they'd never be able to access their father's lives, only their mother's, which is another interesting thing. Like, oh, I don't know, it, like, increases the value of women now, because you have access to all of your mother's lives. But once you have a guy, the lives die. So, like, the guy can't have someone save his life. So you have to have a girl to keep the line going.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's an interesting concept.
Yeah. But, like, I was thinking, like, that everybody would get their own elevator. I wasn't thinking about, like, shared elevators. Like, because we established earlier on.
Well, it's just like, if everyone lives in the elevator. Like, you pretty much spent your entire life in the elevator, and now your life's more... You spent more time in the elevator going to different lives than you did just living your life. So,
well, at that point, going to the different lives is your life.
Yeah. But at the same... Yeah, so, like, now 1 second has become 20 years.
But here's what would happen, is you would have your own elevator, then you would want to go to somebody else's life, so you go and get into that elevator, and as you are traveling through that elevator and to that person's different points in life, you are creating your own life in your own elevator, but you're just not in that elevator this time. So then you could go back into your mother's elevator, go up a few floors or whatever, then go over to your elevator, and there is your mother's life, just with you in it now.
Wow, so now we've just created a world where we life hop.
Pretty much.
So we're just hopping, but at the same time, it just means that this new generation that comes when this life hopping has started can only life hop. Like, they can never get really to their own time. They're stuck in the elevator's worlds. So we've trapped them in the world where all they've got is the past. All of a sudden, we've made it to there's no real future except the elevator.
I mean, you could add a future. I was thinking that you could still have like a future and a present for everybody that just keeps going. But at the same time,
are they just not in it?
Like, let's say you reach the top of that elevator, and let's say that's not your death, but like that's just where time keeps going forward.
Oh, so that's where you leave the elevator.
Maybe. Like, I mean, the original idea was you reach the top of the elevator and you die. That's where your death is.
But in that case, we're trapped in the elevator. But maybe the top of the elevator. Maybe we have. I feel like for this world for this thing, the elevator to work, we can't have it go into the future. You get to the top of the elevator and you're back in present time. But I think an interesting
into the future.
But I think like an interesting idea is that when you're in present time in like how much time you spent in the elevator. So like someone enters the elevator and they come back 20 years later. And they've lost those 20 years. So like there's a consequence to the elevator. So like the time you spend in the elevator means you can't live that time in the present. The present keeps going without you.
Yeah.
Also, I almost feel like your trips to the past can't affect your present. So it's kind of more like a memory hopping, like you changing memories for yourself, but at the same time, it's not affecting your present at all.
And in a way, you're almost creating other timelines, but at the same time,
it's just not your
you're not. Because what happens is you go into let's say your mother's elevator.
Yeah.
And
I like this idea of going
now
into
changed the past and everything, but your mother still has her memories of you not being there. But now you were there, but that's not how your mother lived her life. And it doesn't have any consequences on her future, even though her past has changed.
Yeah, so her elevator's life hasn't changed. Like, if you were to go back into her elevator and go back to that memory again, nothing would have changed. But if you were to go into your elevator and go into that point of your life, you have the changed reality.
Yeah.
In your elevator, but not so. Yes. So now you've created a fan fiction elevators where people can go into different elevators and have like different fan fiction lives by picking elevators. You can be like, hey, I have the elevator where Hitler died earlier. You should come and check out mine. Because people who actually have memories of Hitler fighting, they can't have that unless they went back themselves. But someone else could go into their elevator, have that, and then it's in their elevator. So now elevators it's like who can create the best. It's like creating stories, but you actually live the stories.
Yeah, I was thinking, can you imagine going up to somebody and being like, hey, I'm a big fan of your life. Do you mind reading my elevator fan fiction?
Exactly! That conversation happens in this world.
Do you mind checking out my fan fiction elevator?
Oh my gosh, that is so weird.
And the great thing about fan fiction is that it's known for having self-insert characters.
Because you're the one in it. Yes, you just, oh my goodness.
Except in this case, you're not a Mary Sue.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So can you die in the elevator, like while you're part of the elevator?
I would think you could.
Okay, so you still have to be careful. Like, you can't be, like, going up to Hitler with his tons of guards and try to shoot him. Which I guess is why some elevators would become so valued, because some realities are harder to change. So the one person who succeeded in that, his elevators becomes out. And then you can have, like, a market charging people to visit your elevator. Like,
wow.
And then it becomes,
I mean, how many people, if you got, like, a market where people are charging you to, what about duplicating money? We've already... Except you can duplicate things, and including yourself.
We also have the issue of once one person visits your elevator, they have access to your elevator, and then they can charge money.
That's
true.
Really,
so I guess
if you die, does your elevator still remain, or does your elevator disappear?
Ooh, that's another good point.
Think
how do you access people's elevators?
Eventually, those elevators are going to get... The place is going to get crowded.
Yeah.
Like, that skyscraper is going to eventually fill up too full of elevators. So if we were to have all the elevators of everyone in history, that's just billions, if not trillions of elevators. That's like trillions of elevators.
I kind of like the idea that like once you die, your elevator dies. It's
Yeah, it's
so,
like the
and then
elevator is now out of order.
yeah, because then I think it also adds to the importance of having people visit. It encourages you to have more people visit your elevator, because that's how your memory continues living, how your stories that you've created continue. They only continue if someone's visited it. So now you have to share your life story and your things, or else your elevator becomes useless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then everybody's going to be very upset when they say, no, 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 I don't want to see your elevator. This guy, Justin Bieber's living the more fun life. Let's go see what he's up to. Oh, he's in jail again? Huh.
Wait, let's break him out and have a fun time with that. You know, there's just
Let's break him out and see what happens.
Yeah, there's endless possibilities with these elevator things.
It's not illegal if it only kind of actually happened, right?
Actually happened in the real present time. So I do feel like you have to get permission to visit other people's elevators. Like there's
yeah, I definitely think you would need permission.
You can't just visit random people's elevators, and that also does close off like a lot. Like right now, I don't think there's anyone living who's fought in World War One now, so we don't have access to change that.
I mean, we could at least go back into one elevator and then talk with somebody,
and then get their permission. But they're
I don't think that you could like link elevators through different times. I think you could only go through one elevator at a time. Like you couldn't.
Yeah,
like you could leave your elevator and go to someone else's, but you couldn't leave that elevator.
Yeah.
And then go to someone else's in that memory.
Well, and I think in the world we're creating, this building's an actual building. Like this is a legit building with elevators.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like
it's all elevators.
Yeah, so I guess this is more like a giant world thing or something. I'm sure there's a way to get to it easier, but I
was really just imagining a skyscraper.
Yeah, no, and so you just. In which case, which means that, definitely people of the past wouldn't have an elevator. And also, in order to access someone else's elevator, you have to go back to the present time.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. Yeah,
you'd have to go, so you'd go back to the present, you can't enter one elevator from another, not even your own elevator.
Yeah.
Your elevator just starts taking on elements of other people's elevator because you're exploring them. I feel like the present will become very empty. Because everyone's just having fun in the elevator worlds, and like you have this one busy area where people are like switching between elevators and stuff, but outside this elevator thing you probably just have a society that's not doing great, because those societies never do great. And of course that's the society the books will all be written about, is the society that doesn't have access to the elevators.
Maybe that's what the ground floor is.
What?
The society that has no access to elevators.
Or like maybe we should talk about like how you get an elevator, like who's deemed worthy of getting an elevator.
I mean, I was thinking like it comes with birth. Like you're born and then an elevator's automatically created, and then when you die the elevator disappears.
Yeah. So will there be people who don't have elevators then in this world?
Maybe there would be people who who have done horrible things in other people's elevators, or even their own elevator in the present and everything, and those criminals get sent down to the ground floor and have their cables cut.
So are you saying, so now we have an organization in this world that has the ability to shut down your elevator?
Yeah, I guess we do now. I guess that would be like the government of the skyscraper.
Yeah, and this is story world. They're probably not the most pleasant. And
maybe
now,
they live at the top of the skyscraper.
I mean, someone has to enforce rules. So someone could be like, someone did something really naughty with my elevator memories, and I don't appreciate it. And you can like send a proper complaint, and now you have jobs of people whose jobs it is, who have access to all the elevators, like without, they don't have to have permission.
Yes, because I would totally get a job rather than duplicating $100 bill.
Well, I mean, there's probably other. Well, you have to work, or else you lose access to your elevator.
Oh.
And also, can you take things out of the elevator? Or is it just yourself?
No, I mean, maybe you can only go in, and then that's how you duplicate things, and then everything is duplicated within the elevator, but you can't take things out.
So it's worthless in the real world. So you still need a job for when you come back to the present. Also, how do you eat inside the elevator and all that stuff? Because you're aging still.
Uh, you have a toilet in the elevator.
I think
Everyone's got their own personal toilet.
I think the thing is,
And
you
then-
have to bring your own supplies to survive. This is also another way to get people to come out and not disappear for 20 years. You have to bring your own supplies for you to eat into the elevator. You can't eat and like interact with things and stuff in past times. Like it doesn't fill you up because you're still in the present. So you need to bring with you things from the present to fill you up and stuff and eat and stuff so you can keep going.
This is such a strange world.
It is a strange world, but this way you have the need for money, so people will work, and you can have these fun jobs and stuff. You have people who then become too poor to afford to go even into their elevator, so that becomes a thing in this society. I know, I'm getting really excited about this elevator society, and I don't know why. It's an intriguing concept.
Like it is. You could definitely get like some interesting
You
stories
can write
out.
a
You
book
have
out
the
of
story
this.
of the what?
Yeah, you got a book out of this. This is a great book idea.
I mean, it would be really hard to convey all this exposition and world building and stuff. Like,
But you could do it.
like it would be really mind
I
bending
don't
for the
know.
reader.
Look, see, I just read 1984. Okay, and this has
Okay,
some
yeah, that's-
extreme 1984 vibes, and that's a great book, by the way.
Yeah, I had the same thought going through my head when we were
This-
talking about cutting the cables of the
yeah,
elevator.
This is
My mind went to 1984.
Yeah, this is 1984, which I've just read. Great book, and so it's possible. 1984 is an awesome book. You can write this book. I could write this book. One of us could write this book. It's not a short story.
Yeah.
It needs a
Yeah,
book.
this is not
a
a short
book.
story at all. This is going to be a long story just for trying to convey how the world works, because this is really, really mind bendy.
But but at the same time, we've only been doing probably this actual part like for 30 minutes. We've already conveyed a lot of what this world would consist of. So I think, and we were very scattered and not very ordered. So I feel like if you organized it pretty well, you could get a pretty solid world in a couple of chapters, and then you can just spend time exploring it with whatever characters and people you want. You have because we have like different societies, different jobs, we're slowly fleshing out flaws. So also on this idea, it means that you probably, I guess, yeah, you could have a kid in the elevator. And what would that do? Because that can happen because you're aging. So yeah, so you can have, so are there going to be rules in place to prevent like pregnant women from going into the elevator? Or
I mean, I was trying to figure out what would happen once you're born, because once you're born, the elevator would just magically appear, but you're not in that elevator. Do you have to be born in the elevator? Or are you born in the present?
Well, the elevator's just
the
creating. I mean, the
past?
elevator's creating itself. It's just creating itself, right? Anyways.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
what
just-
happens if? Are you cared for a while before being put into your own elevator? Like when do you start? When are you given control over your life
Yeah.
to go and travel through your elevator?
Or do we have like things where families are taking children and literally using them to make the perfect elevator? I mean, there's a main character for your story. You have a character whose family has used their life to make the perfect elevator.
I mean, there's
Just-
that story. There's the story of the person who's had his elevator cables cut and is trying to bring them back, maybe along with a few other people trying to repair them. You got the
Or-
story
Yeah.
of the guy who's just duplicating himself for a game of laser tag. You got the romantic love. You got the love story where someone gets stood up and they're using the elevator to investigate what exactly is going on with
You have the elevator
with their
police
boyfriend or
guy
girlfriend.
who's investigating people who are misusing the elevator to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
using it.
mystery stories where you're traveling through different people's pasts to try and solve a problem. You've got
And all the while, you're not affecting the present at all. Your present's still going on without you.
present
And
keeps going.
And plus, you're like tied to it still because you need food from the present. So you have to bring. You can only. I can imagine like people are going like, oh yeah, I'm about to go on a 2-month holiday, and you could just see them lugging like this giant thing of food for 2 months into their elevator, and they're like, see you in 2 months. It's like, where are you going there? But okay.
It's like, at that point, just go hang out with that guy. If you want to hang out with that guy, just go back in your own elevator to do it. Just go back in time, into a memory, and be like, hey, so just abandon this time you're spending with me so that you can hang out with me.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting concept, because I like the concept just because we got rid of the paradox that's involved with time travel, because it's not actually time travel anymore.
Yeah, this is a really weird form of time travel. Like,
it's memory hopping.
It's more like memory hopping.
And now memories are now something that can be valued. They take on a new value. We now have to have new rules in society to regulate things. We have the guy I now want to know the story of the guy who's taking the 2 months food supply into the elevator where he's off to.
It's like if you were ranking the stories of like how interesting they are. It's like at the bottom, it's like you've got the murder mystery, and then you got the love story, and then you got the laser tag, and then the guy with the food is storing it up for 2 months going into the elevator.
Yeah. I almost think it'd be kind of fun to do like a short story collection with this world. So like you have the first short story. It's just explaining how the world works. It's the boring story, but you need to read it to understand the rest of it. And then you have a ton of short stories about these different people, and you format a book in that way. I don't know. I feel like
that would be really. Imagine if you could like have all these different stories intertwining with each other and interacting with each other. And
my brain
you could also
just thinking of the concept, and now you want to intertwine them all.
Well, I mean, like, I'm just thinking that it's like if you were to invite, like, you could have like maybe in the memories of one person, there's this interaction that they had with another guy from another story.
And also, I realized why some memories will actually be valued more. Because if you think about it, the people who so an original memory that's just been altered only has one random person in it who changed it slightly. But as time continues, there's memories that have like 80 people wondering about it. Because you're going into the memory of someone who went into a memory. And is remembering that memory.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, what happens? What happens if you go back to go into somebody else's memory, but then you don't want to leave?
You die because you lose food supply.
Your whole life there.
I mean, I guess you have to come out and get food, because we have that in state, so you have to.
You can't eat the food that's in the memories.
No, because so the way that this works is that you're still kind of aging. You're still aging normally, but this is past food. This is just memory food, so it doesn't actually fill you. This is
food that's already been eaten and digested, and you're eating it.
Yeah, so it doesn't do anything. It doesn't work for you. So you have to have food that came in with you, that's also of the same timeline as you, in order for you. So you bring it back. That's why the guy who's going off for 2 months has this giant trailer of like food with him as he's going into it, because he can't live 2 months in it without that food supply. And it also means that
you're technically eating poop.
Yeah, which is disgusting. No, actually, you're eating like nothing depending how far back you're going. And I feel like the food loses even more value once it's like a memory of a memory of a memory of a memory. At that point, it's just nothing.
Yeah. But I mean, we weren't doing that whole memory of a memory of a memory. It was just like a memory of someone else. That's about it.
Yeah, but once that person dies, all you've got is the memory of someone else visiting that memory. And then that person dies.
Wait, what if you die while someone else is in your elevator? Or if the person in that elevator and then they die and then the elevator disappears?
Ooh, what does happen when that happens?
Like, do you die too? Are you lost to memory? Are you...
Yeah, I also feel like we haven't really dived into the idea, can you die in a memory? I think we've established you can, to make like memories more certain memories more valuable because there's a risk to them.
Yeah, like, it's one thing to say like you cannot be killed in the memory, but what if the memory that you're in just ceases to exist?
Oh,
Like, because that person dies, and then the elevator goes with them.
I guess.
What happens to you? Where are you?
Well,
like,
then your
at that
elevator
point?
ceases to
You're
exist.
just in an abyss.
What happens if your elevator ceases? What if it starts a chain reaction? What if, like, every
Yeah, I could
time
see it,
someone dies, it's just a chain reaction of, like... Is there, at one point, do they become so interconnected that all the memories just stop? Like, at one point, just one person died, and it was so interconnected, now everyone's dead except the people who are left over. The people who didn't go in the memory elevator.
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm saying like something would only happen to you if you were in the elevator at the time of this person's death.
Yeah, well, I mean, if everyone's in the elevators.
Like I could see a chain reaction, like where if you're in someone's elevator and then they die and that kills you,
And then someone was in
destroys
your elevator.
and if somebody else is in your elevator, then
They
they
die.
die.
And then
But you would have to have somebody in your elevator while you're not in your elevator.
Well, yeah, I don't think you
given
could
them
both.
permission.
We never saw. Yeah, I guess you could have multiple people in the same elevator. So you could have like a group
I guess
of 5
everybody would
people
just be avoiding the elderly at that point. Like,
You're like, this is
hello, grandson. Would you like to come and see my my memories from 50 years ago? No thanks, Grandma, because you might die.
And I don't want to die. Yeah, that's an interesting yeah. Also, I like the idea that multiple people can go in the same elevator, because then you could have like SWAT teams who do like really dangerous missions to get the proper memories for the elevator. Like, so you have them, and then you have a person who just lives in their memories to get their memories, so their elevator works better. So like this entire SWAT team comes, changes the memory, gets a really cool memory now, and then they come out and they like take a vacation, and they let like this one person who's not allowed to do anything dangerous ever come and live through their memory in the safe version, and then that memory becomes like the memory that other people like pay
so
money to go.
mind-bendy.
Isn't it? It is mind-bending, but it's cool. It's confusing, but it's cool.
This would be so hard to write and convey all this information.
It would. I agree. There's just a lot to convey. And
I mean, I have hard enough time conveying my information that I already have, like, in my book, and
yeah.
it's not quite this complicated. Like, it's somewhat complicated, but it's also not too hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and actually this is all the time we've got for today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, moral of the story: stay out of your grandma's elevator.
And on that note, farewell, everyone.